Welcome back, friends. In this lecture, we are going to parse an input string based on operator precedence parsing. So, in the last lecture, we have discussed about how to construct a precedence parsing table. So, based on some set of rules, we have constructed the precedence parsing table for the operator precedence. So, that table has been mentioned here, and the relationship among the terminals has been mentioned here. So based on this relation, we are going to pass the input string. So this is our input string, ID plus ID star ID. So at the initial stage, so we have to mention the three components before parsing the input string. One is stack, another one is input buffer, another one is action. Initially, the stack will be having empty cell. So we are not going to represent with an empty cell. So in spite of that, we are going to use dollar. So this will be the initial element of the stack. And in the input buffer, we will be mentioned with input as well as the dollar. This dollar is mentioned to indicate the end of the input string. And then the last thing is the action. What action we are going to perform. So we are going to perform the shift reduce parser. So based on the shift reduce parsing operation, we are going to parse the input string. Okay. So first compare this dollar with ID. So now the stack top element is dollar. Dollar is compared with ID. So you can see here dollar and ID, it's having the less precedence. So if you are having the less precedence means, so we have to perform the shift operation. The meaning is we have to push an element to the stack. Okay. So this input element, one of the input elements should be pushed to the top element of the stack. So that is what we are going to do now. So dollar is less than ID means this ID will be pushed onto the stack along with this precedence relation. Okay. Now again compare ID. The top element of the stack is ID. ID is compared with the input buffer, the input plus. Now you see here ID compared with plus, it is having the greater than precedence. If you are having greater than precedence means we have to perform the reduce operation. So reduce means we are going to pop the top element of the stack. So ID greater than plus means what is the top element of the stack? ID will be popped here. Okay. Now only the dollar will be present in the stack. Now the input buffer is plus ID star ID dollar. Compare the dollar with plus. So dollar and plus means dollar is less than plus. So we have to perform the shift operation. So now dollar plus, now plus is compared with ID. So plus and ID again plus as a less precedence relation than ID. So again we are going to perform the shift operation. So now ID has been shifted to the top element of the stack. So now ID is compared with stack star, that is the input element. So ID star means, so ID has the greater precedence than star. So you have to perform the reduce operation, that the pop operation. So the top element of the stack will be popped. So reduce ID greater than star means, so we have to perform the pop element, pop operation. So top element of the stack is popped. So yes, less than plus. So now this plus is compared with star. So plus and star. So plus has the rest precedence than star. So you have to perform the shift operation. Now the top element of the stack will be star. So now the star is compared with ID. So star and ID, again star is less precedence than ID. So again we are going to perform the shift operation. The top element of the input buffer, in the input buffer, the next input symbol is ID, that will be moved to the top element of the stack. Okay. Now ID will be compared with only one input is dollar. ID is compared with dollar. So compare, so ID has the greater precedence than dollar. So you are going to perform the reduce operation. Reduce operation means we are going to pop the top element of the stack. So ID will be popped from the stack. Okay. So the remaining stack elements are plus and star. Among those things, among these two things, star is the top element of the stack. So star is compared with dollar, and check in the precedence table. Star is compared with the dollar means star is having a greater precedence than dollar. So perform the reduce operation, that is the pop operation. So the top element of the stack star will be removed here, and the only element of the, and now the top element of the stack will be plus. Again, plus will be compared with dollar. So plus and dollar means plus has the greater precedence than dollar. So again, we have to perform the reduce operation. Reduce operation means we have to pop one element, then the top element of the stack will plus will be popped. Now only the remaining element in the stack is dollar, and the remaining element in the input buffer is dollar. So when you are encountering dollar in both the stack, top element of the stack as well as the input buffer is dollar means then your string is accepted. So this is how we can parse an input string by using the operator precedence table. Okay. So these are the explanations for operator precedence parsing. And another one step is that is computation of precedence function. So that is not mandatory. That is an optional operation. So in the next lecture, we will see that also. Thank you.